The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is brought to you by Clinica Sierra Vista.
Welcome back to the 17 News at Sunrise podcast, where we share your news on your schedule.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
Good morning to you here at 5 a.m. Thanks for waking up with us. I'm Maddie Jansen alongside Alex Fisher.
Bakersfield Police have released dramatic body cam footage from a deadly officer-involved shooting earlier this month. This shooting happened just a couple of weeks ago on White Lane near South 8th Street. Officers say they chased 35-year-old Guillermo Huerta, though what appears to be through a parking lot, warning him about using their stun guns. Huerta was ultimately shot about half a mile into the chase. Officers say they thought he had a knife in his hand. An investigation later showed it was a screwdriver. Huerta was taken to a hospital where he later died. The officer who shot Huerta is identified as B. Mauser, a 2-year veteran of the department. He is on paid administrative leave while this investigation continues.
It's been 10 weeks since 2 Bakersfield police officers were involved in a crash in Lamont that killed a man and seriously injured a woman. The crash happened in January while officers were in a high-speed pursuit of a stolen pickup truck. Lawyers say the officers had their lights and sirens off when they failed to stop at a stop sign and T-boned another car. That car was carrying 31-year-old Mario Laris, who was killed, and left Ana Hernandez with major injuries. CHP later issued a search warrant for their medical records to potentially charge the officers involved in the crash. Then last week we reported that a claim was filed against the city of Bakersfield on behalf of the victims' families, seeking an unspecified amount of money in damages. For weeks now, CHP has declined to answer our questions about the incident, including which officer was driving, if the patrol car's emergency lights or siren were activated, and if anyone involved in the accident was given a drug or alcohol test. We'll continue to follow this story and bring you updates as we uncover them. You can find out more on this story on our website, kget.com.
5:06 now, and investigators are looking into social media threats targeting a number of Catholic high school graduates. They used to attend Garces Memorial High School and St. Francis School in Bakersfield. Police say the threat originated from outside of the city and was made against 2 graduates of over a decade ago. Catholic schools in the area have been placed on high alert in a letter sent to parents. Police say the case is being investigated. No arrests have been made.
From our 17 follow-up file, a woman accused of running an unlicensed dog boarding operation in Bakersfield, where animals were found dead or neglected, may have the charges against her dismissed. And it's not sitting well with one dog owner who trusted Annie Schreiber to care for her beloved pup. 17th Michaela Armstrong has more.
It's my child, and you always want what's best for them, and to know that I made that wrong mistake for him in trusting someone, it hurt because I would never do that to someone.
Joanne Boone says Annie Schreiber was one of her best friends, and she trusted her to keep her dog Batman during a tough time, only to get a call from animal control months later to pick up her dog after he was one of more than 20 dogs seized from being neglected at multiple residences. When she got him, Boone says he was nearly 50 pounds as opposed to 70 pounds when she dropped him off to Schreiber. Schreiber faced 14 counts of felony animal cruelty, but a judge granted her entry into a mental health diversion program. Boone says that is not justice for these animals.
I got lucky. I got him back. Not everybody gets that. You have not only ripped our life apart, but she's ripped so many people's families apart. It's not fair. It's really not, because you're basically giving her an out.
According to animal behaviorist Joshua Proctor, the Bakersfield Animal Care Center took in most of the dogs found, including 16 large dogs and several small dogs, making the overwhelmed center even worse, forcing the center to euthanize most of those not adopted or returned to their owner.
Every day we're already in survival mode, and then when we take on a case that big, we don't know how we're going to make it to the next day.
Proctor says this all could have been avoided had Schreiber not taken in so many animals and held them for so long.
Most boarding trains can only do up to 6 dogs, so she had 1 person and she had way more than 6 dogs. Even the best trainers can't handle that many dogs.
Michaela Armstrong, 17 News.
A Manhattan grand jury voted to indict former President Trump. The historic move sets up what's sure to be a closely watched and hard-fought legal battle. NBC's Bree Jackson is in Washington with the latest.
America waking up to an unprecedented moment in history. Former President Trump indicted in connection with a case involving a $130,000 hush money payment he allegedly made to adult film star Stormy Daniels. Trump blasted the grand jury's vote online, calling it a fake, corrupt, and disgraceful charge. Daniels' lawyer says he respects the decision.
No man is above the law.
This marks the first time a former president faces criminal charges. Mr. Trump's former attorney turned prosecution witness says it also marks the beginning of what could be a vicious legal battle.
There is still the presumption of innocence in this country.
Trump allies claim the 2024 Republican presidential candidate is being targeted. Others say let the legal process play out.
It appears to millions of Americans to be nothing more than a political prosecution.
We haven't seen the indictment. We don't know the charges. We don't know the evidence. And yet there are inflammatory accusations about partisanship and political basis for these charges from people who have no idea what the charges are.
While the exact charge or charges are still unknown, the Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg was known to be focusing on a felony charge of falsifying business records. Trump has denied any wrongdoing. And the judge presiding over former President Trump's arraignment will be the same judge who recently presided over the case where the Trump Organization was found guilty in a tax fraud scheme. In Washington, Bree Jackson, NBC News.
And Bakersfield Congressman and House Speaker Kevin McCarthy also responding to the indictment, tweeting, "Alvin Bragg irreparably damaged our country in an attempt to interfere in our presidential election. The American people will not tolerate this injustice, and the House of Representatives will hold Alvin Bragg and his unprecedented abuse of power to account."
So what does Bakersfield have to say about the former president's grand jury indictment? 17's Robert Price spoke to a handful of people downtown.
He's hush moneyed a lot of people. I mean, that's how billionaires get to where they're going. Their bank statements are funny. Remember, he didn't really come forth with his taxes either. I mean, it's everything, every step of the way tells me that is probably true.
It's been a long time that we've all been waiting for something to be done against this monster, in my opinion. And I think finally justice. Hopefully, eventually, we can finally nail him down for all his crimes.
I'm okay with that. I think justice has been served. I do think he did a few shady things, and this is karma.
I mean, everybody needs the Lord in their life, so I saw him proclaiming that, and I feel like he would be a good fit to be that president again. As far as these things right here you're bringing up, I mean, nobody's perfect.
Meantime, a former Washington, D.C. police officer who was seriously hurt defending the U.S. Capitol building on January 6th paid a visit to Bakersfield yesterday, armed with a message for House Speaker Kevin McCarthy. And he also expressed deep concern about the political or public reaction to the indictment of former President Trump. 17's Maddie Gannon has more.
On the same day, a Manhattan grand jury voted to indict former President Donald Trump for his alleged role in hush money payments. Former Washington, D.C. police officer Michael Fanone telling 17 News he's concerned about the former president's calls for protests and, quote, potential death and destruction if he's indicted.
At the end of the day, when the president or former president calls for, death and destruction and rejects the idea of peaceful protest, the people that are going to get hurt are cops. Cops that are out here trying to keep the peace, sworn to protect. Those are the individuals that are going to be injured.
After suffering a heart attack and a brain injury, responding to the January 6th Capitol attack, Fanone has been outspoken about his displeasure with Bakersfield House Speaker Kevin McCarthy's handling of the day and the aftermath. But Thursday was the first time he brought his message straight to McCarthy's district.
I would ask Kevin McCarthy to return to the Kevin McCarthy that spoke out in the days just after January 6th. truthfully about what happened that day and about the extremist element that seems to is holding hostage his party.
Fanone gathered with members of the National Courage for America group to kick off a nationwide bus tour to call on Speaker McCarthy and House Republicans not to cut benefits such as Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and SNAP, formerly known as food stamps. McCarthy has repeatedly said cuts to Social Security and Medicare are off the table, but has not said the same about SNAP, which current teacher Jesse Aguilar believes would be detrimental for families.
You see kids that come to school that haven't been fed, and sometimes their only meals that they're getting that day are at school.
Maddie Gannon, 17 News.
The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is a production of KGET and Nexstar Media Group. For more on all of the headlines in today's show, head to kget.com.